Hey yo, what's good though? Saul here, and welcome back to my story mode. So by this point, about 2 to 3 weeks ago now, we received the DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. We played through part 1, the Teal Mask. It was definitely a DLC of all time. I have my storytime playthrough up as well as my review of the DLC up right before this video, so if you wouldn't mind checking that out, I would greatly appreciate that. But here's the thing though. You've seen the title and you've seen the thumbnail, so you already know that this is actually another 5th gen remakes video. Now, what's funny about this is I figured that we were pretty much finished talking about 5th gen remakes pretty much until they were announced for us. So this is, frankly, a very unexpected conversation that we're about to have right now. And because of the conversation that we're about to have, we could be in a great spot or a very dangerous spot. Why don't we chit-chat a little bit? So that we're all on the same page here, we should probably go over what was revealed specifically in the DLC. The first and most obvious reveal is something that we got right from the get-go. The teacher that was chaperoning our field trip, Miss Breyer, actually revealed to us right when we met her that the school that she teaches at, Blueberry Academy, is based in Unova. Unova, as I'm sure most of us know by now, is the region in which 5th generation of Pokemon takes place in, Pokemon Black and White. We also already know that in part 2 of the DLC, we're going to be visiting Blueberry Academy. So, in turn, we all came to the same conclusion. We're making a visit to Unova. Now that, in of itself, is already fine and dandy. That's awesome. But the next reveal is something that really turned a lot of our gears. During our journey in the land of Kitakami, we made our way up to the Crystal Pool. Our goal up there was to get a specific item so that we could bring it back to Grandpa so that he could fix the teal mask. Ogerpon's mask, rather. While we were up there, we ended up running into Miss Breyer once again. She told us that her specific reason for even coming to the land of Kitakami was to study that pool. The Crystal Pool is the entire reason why we're able to utilize Terastallization in the land of Kitakami. Don't forget now, they originally told us in the base game that Terastallization was a very Paldea specific thing because of what was going on in Area 0. The land of Kitakami, they made very clear, is not a part of the Paldea region. It was a long flight to get over there. We saw that at the very beginning of the DLC. So, in turn, Miss Breyer was very curious as to why Terastallization worked anywhere outside of the Paldea region. She then went ahead to mention that she wants to see if she could stabilize that power and utilize it in other regions. Step 1 of her plan is obviously to take her research back to Blueberry Academy in the Unova region. I feel like I just did kind of like a one-piece recap, but I think we're all up to speed now, right? Now here's the thing, we don't really need to wonder if that's even a possibility or was just her talking out of her ass or anything, because we know that she already accomplished this. We've already seen a lot of trailers and gameplay for part 2, and in those trailers and gameplay, they were using Terastallization already. This means, by technicality, that Miss Breyer already succeeded in bringing Terastallization back to Unova. So it's absolutely no mystery that they did this specifically so that we could use Terastallization in part 2 of the DLC. They just had to give us story purposes for why it works over there. However, like a lot of you I'm sure, I can't imagine a world where this very specific action that they took doesn't mean a little more than what they might be letting on. I mean, come on, we gotta pay attention to the implications here. Blueberry Academy is set in the Unova region. We're gonna be visiting the Unova region through the Blueberry Academy when we get there in part 2 of the DLC. We're going to be able to use Terastallization because technically Miss Breyer used her research to bring Terastallization back to Blueberry Academy in Unova. Come on, we know this already. We're gonna be able to use Terastallization in Unova, even if it is a specific part for now. Does this mean that we'll be able to utilize Terastallization throughout all of Unova? I don't know. Sorry, but there's absolutely no way in hell that anybody on this earth is convincing me that they didn't do this intentionally. Especially when everybody who has ever played Pokemon in their entire lives is already fully aware of the fact that Generation 5 Pokemon Black and White, which is set in Unova, is the next in line to get remakes. The way that they move with their games, I have it on good authority to come to the conclusion that we will most likely have access to the gimmick Terastallization by the time we get our 5th gen remakes. I mean, nobody really has to think all that hard about it to come to that conclusion, right? For one thing, they didn't have to put Blueberry Academy in Unova. We never ever in a million years would have guessed that this academy was anywhere even remotely near a region that we were familiar with until they physically said something in the DLC. It could have been anywhere else in the entire world of Pokemon. They could have made a new region specifically for Blueberry Academy, exactly like they did for the land of Kitakami. But no, we're specifically going back to Unova. They definitely have plans. And so, the real question that we're trying to ask here is, what exactly are they cooking? Obviously, after the fiasco that was Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, while technically a financial success, we don't want anything like that to happen ever again. We made that very clear when we were very loud about it for the year that it came out. There's no way in hell that at least not one of the execs up at Pokemon Company saw that and thought nothing of it. Of course, next time they do remakes, they have to do better than 4th gen remakes. Otherwise, it's gonna be a real problem. Of course, they could absolutely ignore us and do exactly what they did with the 4th gen remakes, but now with the inclusion of Terastallization, but that doesn't really work, does it? Terastallization in the Unova region implies the idea that we'll be able to use it. The implication that we'll be able to use Terastallization in battle implicates that we have to have some kind of ecosystem for it to work, specifically because of how Terastallization works for us currently. That means that there are two very big factors that have to come into contact with the Unova region: Terra Orbs and Terra Raid Dens. After utilizing Terastallization in battle, you have to have a way to recharge your Terra Orb. As we know, there are currently only two ways that we can do that, by either visiting a Pokemon Center or by touching a Terra Raid Crystal. So here's the thing, true enough, they could absolutely go the 4th gen, 5th gen remake route, just make it so that we can have Terastallization in the game, but the only way to utilize it is by refilling it every time we go to the Pokemon Center. And they could be done, but do you really think that they're gonna stop there and not make it so that there's that one little thing, that one big factor that gets us interested in buying the 5th gen remakes? Because I don't think they would skimp out on just that. I wouldn't blame a single one of you for calling me delusional and way too hopeful. However, I think that we're taking a very different approach with 5th gen remakes because of what they might be doing with Terastallization. Now, what I'm not gonna do is get crazy and assume that we're gonna get something along the lines of even anything remotely along the lines of an open world for 5th gen remakes. I don't know if that would even work. However though, something like this could absolutely kind of work if we were to take the Pokemon Legends approach. Pokemon Legends is kind of notorious because it's not an open world for whatever reason. But the thing is, if we were to take the open zone approach, I feel like that would work a lot better for remakes. Especially for 5th gen remakes, because frankly, I don't see an open world situation working for 5th gen remakes. Because it's based off of the US in a way, it's very like metropolitan. There's a lot of big cities, a lot of big buildings, it's a lot of just very modern type stuff. While an open world version of that would be very, very cool, I don't think it would work out very well. But it is very clear to me that they started with the open zone approach with 4th gen remakes. At this point in time, we've already talked multiple times about the structure that they found when they went out of bounds in Pokemon Legends Arceus. It's obviously based off of the house that you started in 4th generation. It was going to be the remakes, but they didn't have time to capitalize on their vision, so they had to do something else. Because Pokemon Legends Arceus worked out a lot better than they were probably even intending, they could now possibly take this approach with the 5th gen remakes, and in doing so, they could easily incorporate something like Terra Raid battles and stuff like that. And pretty much also make it so that the 5th gen remakes follow what they were originally, but in more of a 3D-like setting. But, maybe I should slow it down a little bit. Let's make one thing clear. Terastallization, unfortunately, does not guarantee anything of what I've said. I went on this tangent, though, because I feel like it's possible. The original idea of the 4th gen remakes had to be handed off to somebody else because they couldn't see their vision through in time. However, we do know by now that Game Freak works pretty damn fast. Not great, but pretty fast. So, in this very specific situation, I would not be all that surprised if, with the 5th gen remakes, they went out to capitalize on the idea that they started with before Pokemon Legends turned into Pokemon Legends. And on top of that, giving us a gimmick like Terastallization to utilize in the Unova region makes it so that we are already guaranteed a brand new experience. Or at the very least in the gameplay aspect. I don't know if they're ever going to touch the story because you can't really touch Peak without ruining it, you know what I'm saying? But now, you have seen where my absolutely insane noggin has led me when it comes to the information about Blueberry Academy being present in the Unova region, and the fact that Ms. Briar is bringing Terastallization back there. Do we have the potential to actually go raid battling and terastallizing in one of our favorite regions of all time? Is that possible? I really do hope so, because if so, I think we're in for a very good time and a much better step in the right direction when it comes to remaking games. But you know what? It's also very possible that I'm completely insane and they did this for absolutely no other reason than convenience sake, so they didn't have to write lore or history or anything regarding the possibility of a brand new region. Because unfortunately, in the history of Pokemon, it's very common for them to do stuff like this and do absolutely nothing with the potential. So one can only pray that it doesn't come to anything like that, and we are in for a truly new experience in 5th gen remakes. But ignoring my insanity levels, what are you at? Are you just as absolutely delusional as me and you believe that we could possibly get something really grandiose for the 5th gen remakes? Or we're all insane, they meant nothing by it, and we're not gonna get anything but absolutely trash remakes because they prefer money more than our appreciation and love for the series? Tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I am always gonna be down there with you guys. But with that, yeah, it's time to skedaddle on. I'd like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm Gonzo. Thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!